Testing. Warning. The following video may contain adult language and themes. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. If you have a problem with this, please stop playing this video now. Okay, so I just got done watching a movie that was pretty bad. It's called The Postman. It was released in 1997. It stars Kevin Costner. And who else does it star? It stars Olivia Williams, who I know mostly from Rushmore. I think she was Mrs. Cross in Rushmore. And I think she was, I don't remember many other things she starred in. It also stars Will Patton. I remember him most from Remember the Titans. I think he was the dad. He was the coach. No, he wasn't the coach. I think he was just like assistant coach or something. It also stars a lot of other people that, minor stars. Like I think Peggy Lipton was in Twin Peaks. Giovanni Ribisi, even though his role is cut short halfway through the movie. Giovanni Ribisi, who a lot of you probably remember from Avatar. He was sort of the corporate man. Those are pretty much most of the people I recognize. But what I'd heard from this movie before I saw it was that it was pretty bad. I heard that it was a pretty bad movie. I had heard, like, the reviews I heard were either really bad or kind of mediocre. So what I was expecting, I don't know what I was expecting. I guess I was expecting it to be bad because I, for one, liked Waterworld. I liked that movie. That was a good movie. It's underrated. Go watch Waterworld. But the reviews I heard from Waterworld were that they were either bad, mediocre, or good. There were actually some good reviews I heard of Waterworld. Other people who thought it was underrated as well. But I had never heard of any reviews for The Postman that thought it was underrated, and that it was a good movie. So my hopes weren't that high. One thing to mention about this movie is that the version I watched, at least, was 3 hours long. And I think that's actually the official running length. And the movie's rated R. It's got a 5.9 on the Internet Movie Database, and it was actually directed by Kevin Costner. That's interesting. Anyway, yeah, so how would I describe this movie? This movie, the basic premise is, it's post-apocalyptic America. For some reason, I can't remember if they explain why, but there's basically no government in America, and there are just tribes of people spread out around America, and there's like this army of, this huge army of tyrannous, I think that's the word, who go around and like collect tribute from like different villages. Like they collect like food and you have to pay them off and stuff. So basically like the mafia. And the head of the gang is Will Patton. He plays the bad guy, and I think Will Patton plays a better good guy than a bad guy. Like he was pretty good in The Punisher with Thomas Jane, but I think he plays a good guy better. But anyway, and then there's Kevin Costner, who's just this wandering, like roaming vagrant who has his mule and he just wanders around, and he has a rifle and he just wanders around to villages and like performs little shows at the villages, and he gets his nickname, which they call him Shakespeare. He performs shows and they like give him some food and then he just wanders off to the next village. And he does this, and the thing that changes the course of the movie is basically the army led by Will Patton comes through the village and asks for conscripts. Basically they start recruiting people to join their army by force. And Kevin Costner is trying to sneak off because he doesn't want to get recruited, and they catch him and they recruit him. And he doesn't want to do it. He resists it the whole way, and he meets like Giovanni Ribisi there, who has been recruited as well. And Giovanni Ribisi is like the runt. He basically plays like a really Weasley type character, a really meek Weasley type character. And basically Kevin Costner he forms sort of like an animosity, I don't know what the word is, like he forms like what's the word, animositous relationship with Will Patton. They're gonna duke it out in the end, because he becomes like his sworn enemy. But but Will Patton keeps him in the army, and eventually Kevin Costner escapes. And what sets up the whole Postman thing is that he finds like this old post office like truck that's been like destroyed or something, and he sees a corpse in it, and he's really cold, so he takes the post office clothes, post office man's clothes, so he looks like a postman. And so when he goes to this village looking for food because he's all cold and hungry because he just escaped from the army, and they won't let him in, and he's like, "Well, I'm the postman, you know, I'm from the government. We're reestablishing things," and he's like totally bullshitting his way through it, and like they don't believe him, and he pulls out all these letters and like, "I got a letter for so and so and so and so," and then they say, "Wait, that's me," and so they completely buy it. They let him in. He basically becomes the postman just so he can get some food and shelter, and they believe him. It's so unrealistic. I mean, like, couldn't these people be like, well, what if he just found a dead postman and put on his uniform and got the mail from them? And like, there's a sheriff who runs the city, sort of, who protects it, and he kind of suspects that Kevin Costner isn't who he says he is. But Kevin Costner, he like gives the people hope, you know. And here he meets like Olivia Williams, who's like the love interest, and like she comes up to him and she's like, "Can we have sex or something?" She like comes up with this stupid proposition like, "I can't have children, so me and my husband can't have babies, so we're wondering if you could impregnate me, you know, because you're leaving anyway. We don't want to ask somebody in the village to do it because then it get weird." And, you know, this is sort of like Waterworld, where, you know, the people at the atoll didn't want to look for impregnation in their own clan, so they asked Kevin Costner, the mariner in Waterworld, that was his name, they asked him to impregnate one of their people. And in this one, in the Postman, it doesn't seem as believable, because, I don't know. I didn't buy this post. Let's get into the problems. Basically, I'll give you the basic premise. Kevin Costner starts bringing hope to people, you know, because he's lying that he's the postman, and he starts running mail back and forth. And then Will Patton and his army get really angry because he's giving people hope. And then it becomes like this whole kind of war where the post office guys, and they make the post office like this beacon of hope. Like the post office is are like martyrs, and they're so fucking, they're like knights in shining armor. It's like, come on, dude, nobody thinks the post office men are that way. It's like, when people think of the post office, they think of like a bureaucratic, like waiting in line for an hour just to send one letter. They think of people who are disgruntled and like go postal and just don't like their jobs, and just the term snail mail exists for a reason, but I digress. Like, this was pure propaganda for the post office. Anyway, so, you know, it becomes a postman, like, Costner creates, or like, there's this army of postmen, and they all fight, you know, the evil army led by Will Patton, and so that's basically the premise. I'm not going to spoil what happens in the end, but that's basically the premise. But what I didn't like about this movie is I did not buy the post-apocalyptic setting at all. Mainly because this takes place in very mountainous, very lush green environments. So it doesn't look depressing. It looks like a Christmas card, you know what I mean? Like, I bought Waterworld because it looked so barren. There was just water. You know, it looked like a true wasteland. But this does not look like a wasteland. It looks lush. It looks green. You know, you see villages everywhere. I mean, like, there are a whole bunch of villages. Whereas in Waterworld, it seemed like there was only a few atolls, and they even say, you know, there are fewer and fewer atolls every year. But no, in the Postman, you just see villages everywhere. You see villages in California, you see villages in Oregon, you see villages. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, it doesn't even feel like a post-apocalyptic movie. Also, yeah, another problem is that it's too fucking long. 3 hours of this. Oh, by the way, I just recently saw like this Ulysses cut of Waterworld, and that's 3 hours. And I've got to say, 3 hours is too long for Waterworld. I like Waterworld better when it was cut down to 2 hours. I mean, it was nice to see all those extra scenes, but 3 hours is just too long for a movie. You know, at least movies like this. I think if they cut The Postman down to like 2 hours, it could have been a so bad it's good movie. It could have been so bad it's good, but it just runs on for way too long, and so it's just not a good movie at all. And Olivia Williams, if you ever wanted to see Olivia Williams topless, she does go topless in this, so FYI, for all those Olivia Williams fanatics, I don't know who you are, but wanted to see Miss Cross topless. Yeah, I just didn't buy the post-apocalyptic setting. This movie was really bad, but it seemed like they had to be aware that it was bad. There's no way they could do this without being aware. Because, like, they try to like hold up the post office on this high pedestal. It's like, oh, it's these valiant men trying to deliver the mail, and it's just so jingoistic, and like, and like this kid, when the army's in the town and the army's terrorizing people, this kid yells, "This is the United States of America!" And like Will Patton's like, "Who said that? Who said that? This is not the United States." And it's like so patriotic. It's almost like Rocky IV in its patriotism, which whatever, okay, but it's just like, really, Postman? I mean, Postmen are not. I mean, it just didn't make sense to me, and yeah, it's just not a good movie. I could go on and on, but like I'm not. The romance between Kevin Costner and Olivia Williams. Olivia Williams' character, like I said, had a husband, but she couldn't have children with him, and so she ends up having sex with Kevin Costner's character, and Kevin Costner impregnates her. And then at that point, you're like, okay, Olivia Williams' real husband's gonna die. I mean, like he's already dead. I mean, he's gonna get killed eventually because Olivia Williams has to end up with Kevin Costner. And they do. And Olivia Williams' character is just really weird. I mean, if they wanted to play the romance seriously, they would have made it, a very fiery romance and a serious romance. But it's not. She's kind of weird in a lot of ways. Like her character is just really quirky at times, and like so you think that they're kind of mugging at the camera that way. So it's just a really weird movie. It stretches on for way too long. I didn't buy the post-apocalyptic setting. The post office men holding them up as heroic is just kind of hilarious. I mean, I don't mean to offend any postmen, but it's just hilarious because postmen are not. I mean, whatever. I mean, and another weird thing about this movie is that most of the weapons were very simplistic. Like, I think the most common thing was like a semi-automatic rifle or something, and there's like no missile launchers left after the apocalypse. There's no grenade launchers. There are no grenades for that matter. I think I saw like the army had like a mounted automatic machine gun, but that's pretty much it. Like other than that, they just had pistols and just rifles, and it's just yeah, and what happened? And other weird points in the movie was that Kevin Costner, like this kid, like deputizes another kid, this kid who wants to be a postman. He's like, "I now pronounce you a postman." And this kid goes out and like recruits all these other postmen to help run mail, and they're all kids. And like Kevin Costner's just fine with this. He's like, "Okay, all you kids want to run this mail," and then like they're getting killed off by the army, and Kevin Costner's like, "Oh well." I'm endangering the lives of thousands of kids, but whatever. And like they start getting killed by the army because the army's like, no, we cannot have hope. It's just a weird movie. I don't know what they were going for with this. Way too long. Maybe if some glutton for punishment out there would want to edit this movie down to 2 hours, maybe you could make the argument that it's so bad it's good. But I just don't think so. Probably only top plus about it is you get to see Olivia Williams nude, which, okay, whatever, if that's your thing. Anyway, okay, have a great day. Again, this is my review of The Postman. Take it easy. Bye. And oh, by the way, this was a box office bomb.